Hey, I'm Jaime, and this is Eddie. People know him as Eddie Vicious.
Hey, here you go. What's
I've
up,
known
everybody?
this dude for a very, very long time. Eddie, before we get going, tell everybody how you got this name, Eddie Vicious.
Well, when I went, this is going way back when I was in high school, went out for the football team, and I didn't play my freshman year, so I was kind of green on my sophomore year. Junior year, I trained. I had a security guard at my high school, which was New Bedford Voc, and his name was Mr. Rule. This guy was like a power lifter.
Jimmy Rule, right?
Yeah.
I remember
He's
Jimmy.
like a power lifter type guy.
He passed away a few
And I
years
remember
ago.
he gave me the sheet of paper with all these fucking exercises on it, right? By the end of that summer, that paper looked like a crinkled piece of toilet paper. It was in my pocket. I was reading through it and making sure I had my workout down packed. Me and my friend Roy would go to the YMCA. Got myself in some pretty good shape. But I kind of made out with a girl at the beach and got mono. So that fucked up my
better than herpes, bro.
That fucked up my whole season. I had mono, and I lost all my gains, right? My junior year. Everyone kind of counted me out. And my favorite wrestler as a kid, when I used to watch, I think every kid in the 80s watched, in the 90s or whatever, watched wrestling, right? My favorite wrestler was Sid Vicious. So the first, I worked my way, I ran, I lifted, did my thing, got into double sessions that summer of 94. And we all had to put like a piece of masking tape on our helmet to say our names. So I wrote Ed Vicious, and I taped it on my helmet. And I went out and had a great season, and we won like 4 games, I think it was. We didn't have the most talent in the area, but we were a great team as far as like friendship and a brotherhood. And that name just stuck. Every time I see someone from the team or whatever, even till this day, they say, "Hey, Vicious, what's up?" You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, I still refer you when if someone's like, oh, and somebody asks you. Like,
but it just came from
right.
that guy being my
Because
favorite
it's like,
wrestler.
who you doing a podcast? Eddie Vicious. Like, I don't even say Eddie, Eddie C or anything like that. It's Eddie Vicious. I've known you always as Eddie Vicious.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
appreciate that. That's pretty cool.
and the thing is, obviously, a lot of you, old, like you said, way back friends that know you as that. Just like me as a kid, everybody knows me. If you call me Jimmy, is because you've known me since I was like a fucking kid in diapers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And obviously, as I got older, stuck with my real name, legal
definitely,
name, which is
definitely,
Jamie.
definitely.
So, but in those days in high school,
Oh, take me
I
back.
guess-
Take me
I-
back,
I
bro.
guess- listen, I guess when you played football, let's talk about that because I think it leads into maybe a discussion we can have about how soft society has become. And I don't want to downplay the fact that concussions are not serious because there's athletes, professional athletes who have actually killed themselves, and are suffering from it. So I don't want to downplay that. But
No, don't downplay that at all. But as far as a sport, I think, in my opinion, football, I mean, now looking back at it, it teaches you a lot. I mean, like in life, because life is a struggle.
discipline,
It's like
hard work.
It's like 4 quarters, right? Every day is like 4 quarters. And every day you get up is the first quarter. Lunchtime, you want to call it halftime, right? And then when you go to bed is the final score. And every day is either a good day or a bad day, sometimes mediocre day, whatever. But when you're down and out on the field and you're losing, you never give up. You're always up for that next play, no matter what that score says. And it's kind of like life. I know, me personally, it's not that word give up. I don't know what it means.
Right.
Because
And I also think it instills a lot of work ethic, that a lot of
hard work.
A lot of kids nowadays, and I'm not saying, I don't want to downplay some of these kids, but we see them because they don't play outside like we used to. They don't play. You have kids that do play sports. I don't want to say that, but everything is so. It's different. It's the way we were raised, the way we were taught.
But this whole COVID thing, I think really, the people that suffer the most, I think, are the kids. Because, for example, my son's 12. And his cousins, they used to play outside all the time. Like, they'd get home from school, change up, put their old sneakers on, go out and play some pass or whatever in the street. Now, like, not to be, like, offensive or anything, but my son doesn't really want to hang around there because as soon as they get home, they go right to the laptop and electronics, and they're playing with their friends online.
Whose fault is that? It's our fault as parents. We can slice it and dice it however we want. I really believe that it starts with the parent. Like, it's convenient, right? The laptops, the electronics have taken place of Our quality time and being babies.
But do you think parents treat that as like a babysitter?
Exactly. That's what I was leading to, that has become the parent's babysitter, right? It's more convenient. You're having a tough time. And I get it because I'm a parent and I've been there and I fault for doing the same. So you take, a kid, you're having a hard day. You come home from work and you're like, what the fuck? Yeah. I'm tired as fuck. I got to deal with this kid. I got to, I ran him to sports. I brought him here. I brought him there, whatever the case is. And you know something? And the only time the kid is going to like chill out and relax is probably get on his iPad or his phone.
And then it makes
you as a parent say, hey, something, he's in his room or he's on the couch and he's chilled out. He's playing a video game, whatever the case is, right? That becomes the babysitter. So I think the quality of time and family time has also been degraded because of all this. And one of my biggest pet peeves is being in a restaurant and seeing kids walk in glued to their fucking electronics.
But it's not only the kids,
and then I get that. And they sit down at the table and they're allowed to play games. And you're right. It's not only the kids. And I'm guilty of it, man. I'm guilty of it. I am guilty. And as adults, listen, I'll tell you this story. This is years ago at a Patriots game. A bunch of guys, probably like 6 or 7 of us, we went to a Patriots game. And we got this offline. It was nothing that we invented. It was everybody grabbed their phone upside down and they stacked the phones. This happened. And it's actually a friend of mine. He owns a restaurant in the Riv. And we all stacked our phones, and the phone just kept going. Zzz, 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 and he just couldn't. And whoever picked up their phone had to pay the entire tab. Mm-hmm. He just couldn't handle it. He said, not even 5 minutes in, he's like, fuck it, I gotta take this call. He paid the entire tab. So as adults, we're so addicted to that. What are we doing to our kids by saying, something, go to your room, go sit on the couch for 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, 8 hours. That's their activity all day and every fucking day. It's a bad habit for us adults. So what are we telling our kids? And how are we raising those kids? Because it goes back to what you said, right? Football, sports, we played outside. It was discipline, right? It taught us a lot of things.
I drove my car to the gym.
Exactly. And it taught us how to be like in a group of people. It taught us, almost, I hate to say it, almost like the chain of command, right?
So let's go back then. Let's go back, because I'll tell you a story right now. Well, not a story, but like my childhood, for example. My mom, pretty much a single mom, because my dad.
Your mom's a great mom, by the way.
My mom, everyone prays for my mom too. She's suffering from cancer right now. She needs all the praise she can get so she can maybe beat this thing. But she was kind of like a single mom because my dad was a dragon fisherman. He owned his own boat for years, or fished out at New Bedford Harbor, and. Back then the fisherman would come in for like 5 days, 4 days. I'd say he'd be at the bar with his boys. That's just how it was. You know what I'm saying? So my mom was by herself with 3 boys at home. And she was the father figure and the mom. She was tough on us, though. And I wouldn't trade it for the world, Jamie. I'm telling you right now. At 8 years old, I remember going to Cove Discount Center. Remember?
Love that place.
Big pile of sneakers. You'd have to pick through them and find a match. Hey, I found a match, right? And then it wasn't a different size, so you couldn't even have those. Right. It would take us an hour to find a pair of sneakers. And I used to ask her, how come I can't have a pair of sneakers like a Reebok or a Brain? She says, you want those sneakers? Okay. Let's go get a paper route.
Right.
I'm the oldest of 3. So I got the paper route. I had 42 houses. I still remember how many houses I had on that route with my fanny pack. And I had my little carriage, and I would go to the corner, wait for my papers. Now, that's Monday through Sunday. Sunday and Saturday morning delivery. So my brothers growing up watching me, what did they do? They teamed up, got a paper route, double the houses because there was 2 of them. My mom, okay, Eddie, you can handle yours by yourself, but I'm going to go with your brothers with the Subaru. And they would pick up the papers and go down Ronnie French and do those, like 80 houses they had.
Yeah.
Guess what? Me and my brothers, we had the Jordans. We had the sneakers, all the sneakers that you could ever think of back in those days. We had them all because we worked for them.
Right.
I still remember what my first pair looks like. Now, that's a very valuable lesson as an 8-year-old kid because you can't buy that. You can't. The only way you can show a kid that is by him experiencing it and going through it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. These kids will never. I had a paper route, right? And I used to go shovel snow in the winter as well.
Yeah, me too. Out of the paper route because I would rake leaves for the older people. And, can you shovel my driveway? Of course.
Exactly. And then I would go to Jimmy's Pizza, get myself a small cheese pizza, and play video games, right? And that was kind of my reward. So and it goes back to what we were talking about. It leads back to you nailed it, right? You said it was papers, right? We were able to do that as kids because
and given a little bit of responsibility too. At the same point, teaching you how to be like responsible for yourself.
Absolutely,
and but growing up a little quicker maybe because you have that money, and you're collecting these people money. You got to pay your bill.
It was already teaching us the value of hard work and working to make money. And when you
getting
make
up
money,
in the morning,
you save it, right, and you put it away. But the digital age, what we're talking about, has killed all that. So it has killed it because the paper. Hold on a second. The papers are non-existent, right? They're out there. You can get them. But everyone's, I get my news on Facebook and online. That's where
absolutely.
I read a headline. If interesting, I click on it. So we took that away from the kids, right? So as adults, this media age, digital age, there's no more paper routes. So how do we?
But can I also bring up one thing though? How about the children or young adults that are making money off of the internet in the digital world? And
that
now
is true.
Younger kids see that, and they think, "All right, I'm gonna be that." When my son, I enforce the idea of dreaming big. Okay, I don't want him to be like me, a drywaller. Mm-hmm. Jamie, I've spent more time on the road with that tool belt on my waist, with that screw gun in my hand, than anything I've done in my whole life.
Right.
It feels like it's meaningless sometimes. Yeah, I make money or whatever. I support my family, and that's my number one job in my life is to support my child. Give him the things that I didn't have, and try to raise him to be a better man than me, a man that can strive. Because I don't think I had that as a kid. Like my mother was just like, go to work. You got to get a job. I didn't even know what the fuck college was. What's college? You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't brought up that way.
Right.
It was just go to work, get your own life.
Yeah, blue collar. And listen, throughout this whole entire country, from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to different parts of this country, a lot of kids never knew what college were, right? A lot of kids, listen, at the end of the day, think about like our heritage, right? Portuguese. How many people have 8th grade education, 7th grade educations, came to this country and did absolutely okay for themselves. Mm-hmm. Absolutely themselves. I was at a conference yesterday, actually, and the guy that runs the conference, he's been here, I think, 15 years. Taught himself how to speak English, right? Speaks English very well. He's does very well for himself. So I think it's like, I get it what you're saying. You busted your ass, but you've always been a hard worker, right? But you've never like depended on somebody else to be like, hey. I
bought my house at 22 years old.
Exactly. So you've been a hard worker. You never depend. So you can say what you want. I know it sucks, but you're instilling that hopefully to your kids, and they see that, just like my kids see like the hard work it takes to do what I got to do.
I brought my kid to sorry for being at the table and getting used to this, but I brought my kid to my future brother-in-law's house. He had horsehair plaster on his ceiling in his basement, right? It was like 8-foot ceiling, and he had knocked it all down the night before. And I was helping him frame some ceilings in his house and whatever. And I told him, I says, hey, who's gonna help you clean that? He's like, nobody, you know what I'm saying? So he had this little window in the basement on the far right of the basement and a dumpster out in that area. So I says, all right, me and my son are going to come here in the morning and you're going to just pay him whatever he's worth, whatever you think he's worth at the end of the day. I'm going to come here just so I can teach this kid a lesson on how hard a day can be and what it is to earn a buck. You know what I mean? So we worked. It took us until from 8 to 2:30. We finished it up. At the end of the day, Johnny took him to another room and shook his hand and said, thank you for all your help today, and gave him $100.
Nice.
You should see the kid's face. Jamie, come on. It was like, one of those things.
So what did he do with that $100?
I don't even know. He wants to buy an electric scooter, so he's saving up pretty hard for it. Yeah.
So that's another thing too. It's it's the management of money too, right? It's not just making the money.
I tell them all the time.
It's teaching our kids to be like, hey, listen, you just made $100. You want to go buy something for $5.
I tell them,
but don't spend it all in
50,
one shot.
Save 50.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, simple things like that. I try to tell them, but at the end of the day.
But that's great at that age. I mean, I was working my uncle's summertime building houses.
Dude, I would go to the docks with my father and clean boards.
Big time,
like
man.
fish.
Yeah.
Oh my! In the winter, whatever.
Unloaded. I've unloaded boats, man. I've worked in Dartmouth, freaking picking grapes for in the vineyard for grape season, like wine season. We just did things as kids, man. and my kids are always like, what can I do? My son comes in the summer, he'll come work with me, my 17-year-old. But I don't think there's, I get it. The digital age has created a lot of successful teenagers and stuff like that. But everybody seems to want to be a YouTuber and all that. It takes a lot of work.
I know.
And a lot of,
and you have to spend hours playing video games.
Hours and hours. Well, producing content to YouTube to make a living and be popular. It's such a saturated market that, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, I get it. Follow your dreams. I'm not going to tell anyone to not, attempt something, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, here we are. We started a podcast because we want to give our opinions on the air. And some people are probably looking like, who are these fucking clowns, right? But I don't give a fuck what people think, right? I don't care. Like, this is something I want to do.
I feel like my opinion on podcasts is like the news is so unreliable now. You put on CNN, you know exactly what you're going to hear. Put on Fox, you know exactly what opinion they're going to have. At least two genuine guys like us or whoever does these podcasts around the world, around this country or whatever, it's their opinion.
Right.
It's their genuine opinion.
As long as you still got podcasts out there that still spew a lot of nonsense and stuff. Like, I'm just about common sense, right? I take everyone.
I love conversation. Communication is a very, very nice skill to have. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people lack that skill these days because everything's text. No one sits in front of each other and actually have a conversation. You ever ride a bus or a T? Everyone has their face on the phone.
No, nobody face on the phone. No one talks to you. There's no. I mean,
and now with the mask,
you do come across some people who will still be genuinely like, "Hey, how's it going? Nice day," or whatever, happy. But there's nothing, man. I just came back from Philly and on a trip, and it was just like, I met some guys at the conference, and actually, they just texted me. We become friends, and I tend to always meet, a couple of people at a conference and continue a relationship with them, whether it's personal or business or whatever. There's cool guys, cool cats out there, and we connect. But other than that, I mean, everybody's just their heads up their ass. No one wants to talk. I'm just a friendly, go happy, lucky guy. I'll say hi to everybody, make conversation with anybody, but it's very difficult in today's society because people just don't want to have it, especially with COVID now. It's either you have people who don't give a fuck, who think, oh, whatever, COVID is a scam. It was, it never existed or whatever the case is, right? Mm-hmm. And then you got the ones that
it's
are
a very polarizing issue.
Exactly. And then you got the ones that are like scared to death, which I respect. And some people have issues that we probably don't know, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to respect that. They could have an illness that could kill them if they do get it because they're more vulnerable to others.
Absolutely.
So I try not to judge and get there. So if people ask me to wear a mask, if it's a business, I wear a mask. I don't get into that bullshit. It's my freedom and all that crap.
So I'm the last guy to make a scene at a store.
Exactly. So my point is, like, some podcasts, they got their opinion, and it's their opinion. Right? That's my opinion on it. But another guy would be like, fuck the mask. I ain't wearing a mask. It's my fucking freedom. I'm not going to go. Listen, it's a private business, man. You live in the United States. That business is inside the United States, but it's a private business. It's their building. They pay taxes, on the income that they make. So you cannot.
And at the end of the day, do you really want to be that person that makes other people uncomfortable? I mean, if it makes someone feel better that you have a mask on,
people do, man.
Just put on the mask, right?
But people do. Like I listen. I went to a conference, right? Everybody chose.
Speaking of this conference, what's the biggest takeaway you had from it?
The biggest takeaway from the conference, consistency, and following through what you're going to want to do. Just put it out there. Not related to this, but related to my business.
Business in general.
Not related to my business. Like,
you think business in general or just the roofing business?
Oh, no, business in general, the podcast, whatever the case is, be consistent and then just do it. And then I've heard this from many people, and it's true. Like, put stuff out there, put content out there, promote yourself. Your first videos are probably going to be shitty, right? Mm-hmm. And if you look back at all these guys who either started, a roofing podcast or educational videos or a podcast itself, cooking videos, whatever the case you're into, whatever, get your juices flowing. If you look back in their earlier days on YouTube, they all started like pretty shitty, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, unless you have a huge production
company or whatever,
a huge production budget and you got guys behind the scenes and they got, fancy editing and crazy ass lighting. I mean, it's different, but I mean, you just do it. So I took away from his consistency. It's funny because when I was there's a couple of things that I was meaning to sign up for, that would just make my life easier in business. And while I was there, I was doing it on the spot because he'd be talking about it. And he's like, why are you wasting your time? So I was like, fuck it. I was on my laptop. Okay, that's done. So it was, listening and then me acting on it. Exactly. And I walked away from it and be like, okay, I felt accomplished. Like I walked away from something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
With an accomplishment.
That's good. That's good.
So.
Did you meet any like cool people out there as far as being like top of the line companies where they're?
Oh yeah, listen, it's amazing. Like you know, the guy that runs it and runs the thing, he's done a great job. He's built himself a great empire. Started a called Directory. It's kind of like Angie's List and all that. But yeah, you just meet people throughout the country, and the good thing is you talk to different people how they do business. And I'm you know, there's some guys out there doing $50 million in roofing, $40 million in roofing.
It's so hard to imagine.
That's just crazy. You know, a lot of guys, not just residential, commercial, and residential. But on the business side, I don't want to get into that. It's roofing, all that shit. But yeah, you do. I love going to these conferences. I've been to ones in the past. I've met, you know, one of the best speakers. Straightforward, no nonsense, great guy. I met him, talked to him, actually got a picture with him, took a picture, chilled out, made it on a clip on his YouTube
That's one
video.
thing I admire about you, man, because
was Andy Frisilla.
Who's Andy Frisilla?
I knew you were going to say that. So you ever hear 75 Hard?
Who?
75 Hard, the challenge on Instagram.
Yeah.
So he started that whole 75 way before that. So he owns a supplement company as well, First Form.
Yep.
So you got to listen to his podcast, especially from the beginning, how he started. He started a business really from him and his partners. It's like from nothing, a supplement store, right? They would sleep in the back and fucking bounce at clubs at night just to get by. Because a lot of people think you own a business or you're making fucking crazy money and stuff. It takes a while. So he finally built this great business, right? Multi-million-dollar, I think it's like a $200 million business or whatever it is. So he's like, I like to listen. He's inspiring. So I've actually followed him, and a lot of people I followed him even years ago when he really wasn't known, and now he's like really taken off. Then he started that whole 75 Hard challenge. It's really just a shop in your mind, like to get like if you got to do that every day, you have to no alcohol for 75 days, drink a gallon of water, 2 workouts, 45-minute workouts. One has to be outdoors, one has to be indoors. I tried it already. I failed once, and gotta hit it again, but it's fucking not easy. But check him out, Andy Frisilla. A lot of people know who he is, but I met him in person. And I heard him speak, and the fucking guy, and he's like that on his podcast as well. He's straightforward.
Is he like a motivation type of person?
He's definitely a motivational people. And he's got the
resume for it,
resume to back it up. Man.
Yeah.
He's only in his 30s too. I think he's mid or late 30s, and started this up. Doing great. Loves his cars. Loves his Lamborghinis. All that. Maybe I think it's Lamborghinis. I'm probably fucking that up, but. He's just a great guy. So my point to that is he was about 320 pounds or whatever. So he just said, "Fuck it, man. I hate living like this. I own a supplements, company.
Yeah.
What
kind of example is
exactly? Now he's all shredded and he's just done a great. He talks about motivation, but not just about fitness, but also about, business and personal shit and personal, fucking goals and getting that shit. So he's a great inspiration. Him and Ed Milet is another dude that you should probably get on.
Ed Milet, exactly. I've heard a few.
Yeah. So his podcast is on point. Those guys partnered up actually to do some stuff together too.
He does his podcast out on his patio with the freaking ocean in Malibu, wherever.
But those are guys that started.
Beautiful.
Those guys started from nothing. So I like following guys like that, like Andy Frisilla, man.
That's an inspiration.
So I met him in Miami.
That's the thing with these kids today too. They have that piece of equipment in their hand, and they can get so many tools of life like we didn't have, man.
No.
Like I wish I had like guys like C.T. Fletcher that I could watch. These motivational people like David Goggins. I mean, people that just blow your mind of stuff they've accomplished in their life. It makes you feel like, what the fuck am I doing wrong here? It doesn't. I'm a confident guy or whatever, but it makes you feel meaningless because they have such a spot in this life, in this world that we're living in.
I don't listen. I think we all have our purpose in this life.
But wouldn't you
right?
get a rush out of helping somebody? Like, hey, man, thank God I watched your video. It saved my life. Can you imagine
but you
hearing
do.
that?
Listen, but you do. You probably do without even knowing stuff you might post on social media.
No, I don't know.
Yeah, you do. I'm telling you. Do listen.
I've never got more than 10 likes.
It doesn't. But don't even go by your likes. You know how many people I see. How about
the guy that created that like button?
Listen, I'm glad you brought this up because you know how many people you see like, that shit you posted was funny. Oh yeah, I like that. Oh, I love your post, but the motherfucker never likes it. So it doesn't.
I
matter.
haven't really been in Facebook that long.
It ain't about likes, man. People watch. Listen, I put on some fucking. We'll talk about fitness and weight loss and all that bullshit and at some other time. But obviously, you, me, weights up, weights down. You know what I mean? Lost a ton of weight last time. I know when I posted shit, you had your haters that were like, oh, whatever. Do you even work out if you post fucking shit? You know what I mean? There's always going to be a hater.
Too about social media. I'm glad we're touched now.
But hold on one sec. So the thing with what I'm getting at is you're saying, oh, you don't touch anyone's life. I can guarantee you that I've inspired somebody, even if it was one person, because I've gotten DMs and be like, hey, man.
You've inspired me because you always said it when we used to be in those George Drywall vans back in the day. You've always said you'd own your own business, and look at you now. Yeah. You own your own business.
Remember,
and those Portuguese fucking would knock you.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no way, kid.
Yeah.
There's no way you're gonna do that.
And I did it too.
And you're a successful businessman now.
Yeah. So,
and that's one thing I respect.
And I remember
and admire you. So
being on a lift with you, right? I remember being on a lift with you. We're framing or sheetrocking and doing fire. I forget what the hell we were doing. You probably don't remember this, but there was a suit, called them suits, the project managers. They came in from the GC, and I remember looking at them. I says, "That's going to be me right there."
You had that vision, though.
Yeah, it's like, and then I did. I became a project manager, and I was the one walking in there, and people were looking at me like, "Hey, how's it going?" Like, but I never forgot where I came from. Right? I would treat.
No, never.
I know this is cliche because you hear it all the time, but treat the janitor just like as a CEO.
Were in that van.
Exactly.
Humble.
I will never ever change,
too.
man.
Being humble, man. A lot of people, they can't be humble. You know what I'm saying? I had a very humbling experience because I had a dream also of owning a restaurant. And maybe you can help me with this. And we bought a piece of property. We opened the restaurant with 2 other people, myself included, and it failed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I put my heart and soul into that place and also my life savings. And I lost everything in a year and a half with an extra $20,000 that I bought for my mom and dad because we had one chance to start again. Like, the first cook we hired was a mistake. The manager we hired was a mistake. And we had no experience to boot. We built a beautiful place, but the experience was lacking and the funding. We didn't have deep pockets after spending all that money building the restaurant, right? So make a long story short, a year and a half in business during the 2008 recession, I lost everything. And I borrowed 20 from my dad and my mom, and just asking them for that money. And the looks on their faces was like, oh, I still remember that so vividly. The looks on their faces, I don't know if it was disappointment or sorrow. You know what I'm saying? But I've never asked my mom for nothing. Nothing. And after failing like that, when I was in a crowded room, I felt like everyone was laughing at me. And I couldn't be in crowded rooms for the longest time because I felt this big, like a failure. And from that point forward, if I had an idea or let's say I wanted to buy another house, it was like my brain glitched and I couldn't get past it. I couldn't make a financial decision because of that failure. When entrepreneurs and motivators tell you, oh, if you fail, it's no big deal. Try it again. Try it again. Like, how? Like, how can you afford to lose again? It scared the fucking shit out of me. And it's like ever since 10 years ago, I've gotten back on my feet. I've cleared my name as far as the bankruptcy and all that bullshit is concerned. But it took me a long fucking time and a lot of hard work to get there. Now, I couldn't ever picture failing again. Like, how do you get over that fear? How do you try again is what I'm trying to ask. Like, I could never figure it out. In 10 years, still haven't figured it out.
Well, I think you alluded to one thing. You got to stop giving a fuck what people think. Because those same people in that crowded room that you felt were looking at you that way were the same ones that were probably there when you were on top. Eddie, what's up? Okay, my man.
No, this was a room of strangers.
Stranger. Okay, so you still felt... So why would you feel that way if they knew nothing about you?
I don't know. It was just a mind fuck that I did to myself. I don't know what caused it. Yeah. This is the first time I'm talking about it in a forum like this. But like you say, I don't care. If someone else is feeling this way or went through this, I would love to hear feedback like what they did to get past it.
Yeah, but it's not just, I don't think it's just...
Like literally a room of strangers.
Yeah, I don't think it's just, failure in business.
I had to go to the bathroom. I was literally sweating. Like cold sweats, like freaking out. And I don't know if it was like an anxiety attack, but...
It probably was. I mean, it's just not a failure in business, a failure in marriage, a failure in relationships. It could be a failure in your weight loss challenge, right? You know what I mean? So it's something that our conscience says, fuck, I failed. You know what I mean? And I feel like these people are looking at me like.
Do you think the consequences of failure would play a part in that? Like the consequence of losing your family with divorce, obviously, and money, my life savings, gone.
Yeah, it was a fear, right? So you have a fear, but if you look at some of these guys who have made it, have failed and lost and gone bankrupt, and then now they're just, it happened. It just happened because, it's a mind fuck, right? You get over, you defeat it. I don't know how. I mean, I've had plenty of failures in my life, bro. Like,
let me hear one.
Listen, you really want to get deep, man? My marriage, right? I was with a great woman for fucking 25 years, right? I fucked that up. So that's a great failure. So I can sit there and be like, man, what did I do? When I fail, people can look at me like, oh, it's such a great guy, right? There's a saying, right? Don't have, there's a reason why you never meet your hero, right? So a lot of people are like, oh, he's just such a great guy. He's such a this or whatever. And what happened? What happened? Hey, people, shit happens. You know what I mean? So I can look at that as a failure. I failed in business, bro. I had a drywall business. I didn't fail in it technically because I left it to go take on a job, but that was a failure on my part, kind of like immaturity because I should have continued with it when I started that drywall company back in the day. Instead,
how long did that last?
I did it for 3 years, I think.
3 years, huh?
About 3 years, and then I went to I worked as a CO. It was like a stepping stone. I want to be a cop, and then I realized I don't want none of this shit. I want to go back to construction, and then obviously started.
That's your comfort zone.
Exactly. So it's just, and then being in there, I needed freedom and all that stuff, and that's one of the reasons, being in business. A lot of people think it's like you get into business, right? Listen, everybody wants to make money. Everybody's got to survive. Everybody's got to eat. You got to feed your family. I get it. You got to make money, whether it's a job or business. But the number one thing that I learned in business isn't so much about the money, because it is what people don't realize in business. I've gone weeks and weeks and weeks that turned into months without fucking paying myself. There wasn't consistent.
Sacrifice.
There wasn't consistent. It's either pay the guys that are out there working for you to get this cash flow going, wait for money to come in.
I never took a check from my business either.
Yeah, it's a struggle, man. So a lot of people think, and then finally you get to a certain point, you get to start paying yourself, and it's like there's struggles in business. So there's failures, there's struggles. You fall down, you get back up. This times, and I'm like, man, I'm fucking done. I'm done with this. Like, how do I even move on from this? And it always worked itself out. And I'm the kind of guy that I don't panic, right? I'm just kind of cool. Like, probably a month ago, my cousin turns to me, he's riding with me. He's like, man, you got so much shit going on in your life right now. I never see you like flip out, freak out. Like, you're just always calm, even keel. You talk to you. But to me, I
don't think I could be like that.
But to me, it's like, what is it going to do for me to be stressed out all day? Take it out on you, come to this podcast. Fucking Eddie, my fucking day. That's why I met this one. I met that. Like, why? You know what I mean? It's like if I spill a coffee, right? There's another, you call it cliche or whatever. You spill a coffee on you in the morning. Yeah, it sucks. You're fucking dressed up, construction, whatever. But if you say you go to an office job, whatever, you spill coffee on yourself. All right, I got coffee all over my khaki pants. Mm-hmm. All right, fucking like, what the fuck? Get pissed, but let it go. So did you get pissed and milk, the what it should have been 5 minutes all day? You know what I'm saying? Just fucking let it go, man. It's just not worth it. It's like, okay, you spill coffee. The fucking stain is there. You have two choices, right? Move on.
Or go to Walmart and buy another pair of pants.
Go change.
If it's that important to you.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, there's so many failures. You've had, your failures, I know that's probably your biggest failure. Biggest. And probably it created some kind of anxiety for you.
But the one thing I did do is I didn't blame anybody. I took full accountability, which I have a feeling these days is a rare trait. I didn't blame nobody. I could have blamed the world. I could have blamed this, that, and the other. No, it's my fault.
Right.
Okay? I decided to go into this business, which I knew was a hard business.
Right.
By the stats.
Yeah.
But I was so gung-ho when my mom, she was hard. Don't do that. Everyone was telling you, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And it fuels you. It's like, I'm going to prove these people wrong. And you get caught up in this bullshit. And if you just sat down and listened. But I learned a lot, though. You know what I'm saying? I learned a lot about myself, about people. And when I lost it, I packed my lunch every day, Jamie.
Yeah, you would.
Drove to Boston every day. Went to work. Yeah. And had some of my best production days of my life during that time. They used to ask me, how the hell do you hang so much sheetrock? I says, lose 130,000, then come talk to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's either sink or swim, right? You got to dig yourself out.
Right.
Trust me, when I was in that hole, bro, I'm looking up, and I could see maybe the hole of the size of a penny up there, and be like, man, how the fuck am I going to get myself out of this?
Right.
How?
Well, it's good that you did, right? Because there's a lot of people who would have been looking at that hole the size of a penny and say, I'm all set. They're going to stop boozing. They're going to stop fucking doing drugs. They're going to try to forget about it. And that hole gets deeper and deeper until
and all you're doing is prolonging the process, right?
Until lights out, right? Because you get to a certain point, you're like, your life is fucking done because you ruined it even more. So,
and when you finally wake up and you're like, all right, I got it. I got to get my act together. You just wasted 3 or 4 years of being depressed and sad and drinking and fucking up all relationships in your life because of a mistake you made. You got yourself into. You know what I'm trying to say?
And that's probably your biggest fail. But I mean, I'm sure you've had others. I've had it. I've had it with fucking weight. Like last year, right? I dropped like fucking close to 100 pounds. Over the winter, I've gained probably 35, 40 pounds. I'm sure people look at me and be like, oh, what happened? You fucking posted pictures on social media. You dropped some weight and I gained. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? I do it for me. I did it for my health. I didn't do it for no vanity bullshit. Mm-hmm. And that's a failure to me. And not because, of what I posted before or what I did. It's because, I feel like shit.
So what do you think is your biggest problem with the weight gain? Is it the food? Is it the schedule?
I think
is it the like on the run eating maybe junk? Like where, you know what I mean? Like you have a McDonald's or whatever close by and you're on the run. And
it's definitely, listen, it's probably bad eating habits, right? It's addiction to food. Let's be straight, right? It's a mix of addiction to sugar, addiction to food, of the bad choices. But then, I'll go all day not eating. Then at night, it's like fucking, and that's why I try not to have any snacks or anything bad in the house.
That's my tough thing.
I don't. During COVID last year, like when I lost that ton of that weight, I said, fuck it, I'm doing this, and I did it. I actually do a lot of curbside. That's all you could pretty much do back then. Or go to the grocery store, and I would have a ton of veggies. I was cooking whole, not even keto. A lot of people say, oh, it's keto. It really wasn't even keto. It was whole food, like protein, healthy protein, lamb, even beef liver, fish, probably 4 to 6 ounces of that, and just a ton of veggies, broccoli or whatever the case was. I was making some good food, and I was eating good, fucking tasty food. But it's just, but the thing that helped me is, and I remember this, COVID, right? You fucking locked down, you're so bored. And I remember it's like it was yesterday. I would get up 6, 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night, fucking bored as shit. You'd probably go on Zoom with a bunch of friends, and after that, and I would go into my cabinets, into my fridge, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And it didn't matter how many times I went in there was nothing there for me to be like, and then it became a habit to be like, I didn't even crave it anymore, right? But if I had shit in the house, I can guarantee you, I would have been like, oh, if there's Oreos, I'm going to fucking eat some Oreos. If there's chips, I'm going to eat some chips, right? Mm-hmm. It's a fucking food addiction at the end of the day. I'm like, I never experimented with drugs and shit. I never had an issue with.
Yeah, thank God for my girl, man. She cooks awesome, and it's always veggies, brown rice, chicken. We'll like order some Chinese on a Friday night and have a few beers with, me and her or whatever, and her son will hang out with us. And it's just, I thank her because without her, I mean, you should taste her stir fry. What a mean stir fry! Oh, man.
Noodles,
and then I get lunch for the next day. So I'm bringing a healthy lunch.
Right.
It's all veggies and brown rice. Especially, I'm going for my cholesterol check on and blood pressure in May. So I got to make sure I.
Yeah. And with all that said, man, I'm not on any cholesterol. I'm going to be 40. Going to be 45 in
I just
like
turned
3 weeks.
In March 18. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I don't know if I wish you happy birthday. I think I did.
I
did. I text you happy birthday.
Oh yeah, you did, bro. You didn't
I'm just looking back.
You didn't even do it on the messenger. You did it on the text.
That's right.
Personal text.
That's right. Yeah. So the other thing too is, and I'm probably like, oh, this is full of shit. So a few years back, because of I was like, what the fuck, man? I work out. I work like. Sometimes I see what other guys are eating and what I eat. I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, it's crazy. Metabolism.
Yeah.
So my doctor's like, I'm going to give you a metabolic test or whatever. They hook me up to it. It's almost like, I guess the only way to envision it is when you go get your registration, your sticker for your car, this inspection sticker. They stick that probe in the muffler, and it kind of just reads the diagnostics of it. Same thing with your metabolism. So he's put it on, blah 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 blah. He comes out with a report. He goes, well, at least we have, somewhat of a reason why you might, So it came back for me to maintain, it would be 8,850 calories if I wanted to lose. So that was my my caloric intake, right, to maintain. If I want to lose, I'd lose less. So I know, they say, was 3,500 calories or whatever it is, you gain a pound, lose a pound. Mine was at 1,850. So there's a chart. It goes from a normal metabolism, which is in the middle, then super high, and then low. And there's like this chart, right? So mine was like off the chart low. And he's like, well, at least we can, we understand.
Is that due to age or just?
No, I got this done when I was in my 30s, man.
Okay.
So I got this done when I was in my 30s. So I was already struggling with the weight right then, and I got that done in my 30s. So he's like, all right, we have to figure something out here. And it's funny because he'll have women. He goes, I have women, heavy women that come in here and their metabolism comes back as normal, and they actually fight with me. And all right, that's wrong. And I'm like, it's not wrong. It's
science.
It's your diet. You know what I mean? There's nothing. So I work with it. I found that for me. And I'm not. It's not a diet thing. I know guys will be like, "Oh, you have to, don't follow that diet bullshit." For me, and I know what works for me is have to stay away from, refined carbohydrates, sugar, stuff like that. When I eat a ton of veggies, lettuce, salads, nice salads, healthy salads, protein, good amount of protein. I take my blood sugar often just to kind of see what the different foods, how it triggers.
Yeah.
And when I eat meat, veggies, and stuff like that, blood spikes. It stays on a normal level like everyone else, but it doesn't spike as much. But even like when I eat like a sweet potato, like I experimented with that shit last year. I eat a sweet potato, it spiked more than I would if I just had broccoli or asparagus. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
So it's really getting to know your own body. So I
don't
follow.
Sweet potatoes too is supposed to be a good cop, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a low glycemic carb, but sometimes it depends on the person. I'm more sensitive to it, I guess. You know what I mean? I have it. I don't have it often, but I do have it. So I try. I've experimented a lot of shit myself, and I'm going back.
How do you feel about fasting?
That was very. I fasting. I did fasting, and I do it. And I don't do it because I did it before because of diet, right? And I even do it now because sometimes in the morning I'm just out the door at 5:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30, whatever time I end up out the door. And I grab a coffee, and then I don't eat until probably
how's the coffee?
12
Black?
o'clock. Coffee is 1 cream, no sugar, and I'll put some raw stevia.
Yeah, see, I just have a lot of ice black every day.
I don't mind if it's a good coffee. Like it's not bad, but I just do a little bit of cream, just 1 cream, just for it, and then 1 stevia. Sometimes I'll just get a green iced tea.
Yeah, because I was listening to a podcast from Joe Rogan. He had this guy, I think his Mark Sison. I hope I'm not butchering his name.
Yeah.
He's 67. This dude is ripped.
Well, that's the dude that does the.
But his book is called 2 Meals a Day, and it's about fasting. And the way he broke it down on Rogan's show, I bought the book actually, and I'm in the middle of. I read like the first 3 pages. I have to get into it, but it sounds like a pretty. If you can stick to it long enough, it regulates your metabolism, and then you're not hungry anymore. But this first week, I've been trying it, and I kind of been fucking up at night a little bit, having a snack or 2 after dinner, like a yogurt or a tangerine or something. But it's hard, man, to freaking not eat from like 6 to when I have my coffee break is 10.
Yeah. So with you, it's a little tough because you're out there working. Like mine's more. So I would get up in the morning, and before I'm not really a coffee drinker, so I would like it would vary. Some days I wouldn't even drink coffee, just water, and I wouldn't eat till like 12 o'clock, right? So from 12 to 1 o'clock till about 8 o'clock at night, that was my window. And I wanted to get my eating in with that window. So I'd have lunch, probably dinner, and then maybe a snack. Or sometimes just 2 good-sized meals, right? And then I try not to eat after 8 o'clock. Let me tell you, if you stay with that consistently, if you do it for one night, you're not going to see the difference. Yeah. But as you do it consistently, I could literally, I'm telling you.
Again, consistency.
I'm telling you, right?
Yeah.
When you do it consistent, right? I could, in people who have probably lost weight and stop feeling that burning, the shredding of the fat, I could literally get up in the morning when I didn't eat after 8 o'clock, drink a ton of water, and I'll get up in the morning. I could almost feel like the fat melting away. It was like, it's a weird feeling. I can't explain it unless you go through it. Mm-hmm. And every time I'd weigh myself, and probably a bad idea to weigh yourself every day, but I did. And it was just like, holy shit, just dropped in those 2 pounds. Holy shit. And I could feel it and you just started feeling fucking bones I haven't felt in years. Like it's the craziest feeling. So to answer your question, yes, I have done fasting. I've been successful on it. Whether it's something that people agree with, don't agree with, I don't know. I just know what works for me. I know what I need to do. I've already done it. I did it, like I said, over the winter, I put on, a few pounds working at it again here at the shop. I have, this gym you worked out there last summer. Hopefully we'll get that going again. And And then it's just a struggle. But I think, these fad diets and people like, oh, you eat carbs, a complex diet of carbohydrates and this and that. Listen, no, I've been there, done that. I've tried everything. You know what I mean? And everybody
like
says,
you said, you know your body.
Right. And then a lot of people say, well, it's science, it's caloric intake versus, yeah, I get that. But it's also the food. You know what I mean? So it's like a ton of, and plus
you can
it's
eat
got
all
more
the
nutritional value
you want.
for you. Yeah, it's got
There's
more
no
nutritional
limit on
value.
that, right?
You eat, even a potato, right? If you do fine with carbohydrates, then have it. But if you want a potato, eat a fucking potato, a whole food, right? Not a processed food where it's diced into fries, fried,
in a bag,
or a bag of chips. You know what I mean? Now that becomes the issue. So, listen, I've done it. I love it. I mean, everybody who doesn't. I mean, I think some of the healthiest people out there will tell you, if they tell you like, oh no, I'm 100%. I don't care if you're a vegan, if you're, the paleo diet, the keto diet, whatever it is. There is no fucking way. Not even these guys who, top athletes, are going to say, I never fucking cheat.
I know one.
Who?
Mike O'Hearn. This dude is possessed.
You think so?
I think so.
I don't think this. I don't.
Have you ever seen this guy?
No.
He's in his 50s.
I know, but
the dude used to be the gladiator, one of the gladiators on that show. Remember back in the day?
Yeah. But
he brings Tupperware food to parties. He'll bring his own food. He is so strict with his
discipline,
diet.
man.
He is the most disciplined person I've
seen
parties on YouTube.
What's the chances you falling off a fucking diet or crashing? Like the 75 hard, right, of Andy Frisella put together? That's the basis of it.
You know what he says, though? I find fascinating. He says he has the most covers, like bodybuild, like Muscle Magazine covers, because when these dudes are off season, they're out of shape or whatever, right? So they know this guy. If they need a cover guy or someone for their book, a magazine, they call him because he's always ready.
Oh, sure. There you go. He's always ready.
Always ready.
So all these other guys who are fit, it's just like anything else, right? They put on a few pounds, the six-pack kind of goes away. Now they got to shred down to the 7%, 8% that you need for that shredded
They
look.
take a break.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's crazy. But it's a lot of work, taxing on your body, man. It's like, and there's such a thing, and I know a bunch of skinny fat, man. You know how many people I know that are skinny and fucking have their own high blood pressure meds, cholesterol, guys in their 30s. We're going to talk about this sometime, but I know guys in their 30s. Kids, I was driving up to a bunch of guys, and there was a kid in their 20s, right, talking about fucking using Viagra. I'm like, I listen, man, I'm telling you, this is straight up. So just because you're skinny or you look healthy doesn't mean because I'm telling you, there's guys out there with cholesterol issues, high blood pressure, fucking limp dick, and whether it's psychologically the reason they have it or what, and they feel they need Viagra. But in my 20s, I don't even know if Viagra existed then, but I didn't even know what Viagra was, bro.
Nah, that shit that wasn't around.
And now it seems like it's a trend, like it's just I need to take it. But they know what they say, it's not about that. It's not. I can get hard, man. It's not about that. It's about it makes me. Fuck you, makes you last longer, bro. You either like a 2-pump jump or you're not, right? Like fuck off. Viagra's not gonna unless you get the other shit they rub on you, to kind of make you like nah, whatever the case is, but. So it boggles my mind, man, when I'm listening to these young dudes at work, and I'm like, how is that? Why are 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds, man?
Can you imagine them at our age?
Right. Listen, there's no denying that it's out there. People use it, right? It gets to a certain age. Sometimes, men are different. Like, it's not even about that. Sometimes it's a psychological thing. You start thinking like, oh, shit, I'm getting old. Am I really getting hard? Am I getting fully hard? Whatever. So I get it. You start taking it. But to be taking it in the 20s and 30s,
when
man,
it comes
is kind of crazy.
Though, like when you meet your soulmate, it's a different kind of sex.
Oh, of course.
You know what I'm saying? And it's that when you get comfortable with that person, you know what I mean? Like you said, you don't even have to think about it. It's just there.
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say? Sometimes when these guys get involved with this one and that one, maybe it just gets routine and it's not exciting anymore.
Well, it could be. And then you got, the biggest... Because
my girl excites me every time still.
The biggest excuse out there is, you hear, and I never heard this shit in our day, but, whiskey dick. It's like...
What's that?
You don't even know what it is. A whiskey dick, I guess, is when you drink too much and you can't you get hard, bro. It's like... I've never heard of that before until
that much in a long time. So
to be, all I remember is if you went fucking got drunk, it'd be like shit was lasting forever. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah.
And these guys are like a whiskey. Is that what they call it nowadays? An excuse? And then they're popping Viagra and they're popping this. It's just I don't know, man. It's just these are the conversations I hear, and I laugh, and this is real life conversations. This is stuff you're not gonna, this is not made up. This is like real life comment. I'm like, why is a 20-something-year-old popping Viagra? And honest to God, the answer I get all the time is no, because we can't get hard.
Fuck 'em.
Oh, it's because it makes us last long. And like bullshit. I call it bullshit. I just call it bullshit.
That's all in the brain.
Yeah, it's a psychological thing. It comes down to it. That's like you said. When you're with somebody, you care. You guys are comfortable with them. Things just flow.
Yeah, it's just. I encourage everyone to find that soulmate.
Yeah,
absolutely. You know what I'm saying? That's where it's at. You haven't experienced lovemaking until you find that soulmate. So keep on searching.
Keep on searching. And if in the meantime, just keep popping that Viagra.
Yeah, no shit. Keep fucking up your sex drive, you fucking asshole.
All right, man. This is kind of a weird subject to end this on, but this was a good first round, brother.
Definitely, bro. Thank you for having me here.
We'll be back. Absolutely. You're going to be coming back. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah, bro. I'm here.
All right, brother.
Thank you.
Later.
Yep.